Aloha, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of Creative Lab Hawai'i Short Plays Reading Festival. Today, we will feature 6 10-minute plays by our Creative Lab Hawai'i 2021 Fellows in the Weekend Ideation Program for Theater. First of all, a little bit about Creative Lab Hawai'i. It's an entrepreneurial development program for all of our creative sectors, and I must give a shout out to our executive director, Michael Palmieri, the mentors he's put together for this amazing program, which is a first for us, and the writers and directors and the actors who have been working together to put on these short plays for you. These are all original works, and I know you're going to enjoy them. So let's set the stage for our virtual play fest. Each play will be introduced by their director. There will be a 5-minute intermission halfway through the 6 plays. Once the last reading is completed, the creative team will join us for a moderated Q&A. Please do post your questions or comments in the Q&A section as our readings unfold. And now let's raise the curtain on our new 6 works of Creative Lab Fellows' wonderful plays. Charles, written by Jessie Wren Marshall. Super Spreader, written by Lee Cataluna. Fourth Wall, written by Sean Dunnington. Sanctuary, written by Ryan Okinaka. Ha'a Ha'a, written by Lin McEwan. And For Duque, written by Sean Joseph Choo. And here to introduce our first play, the director of Charles, Jason Kanda. Jason is an actor here in our community in Honolulu and also a director. This fall, he will direct the world premiere production of Haole Boyfriend for Kumu Kahua Theater. And now, without further ado, take it away, Jason.
Hi, everyone. It's my great pleasure to present to you Charles by Jessie Wren Marshall. Jessie is a fiction writer and playwright who lives on Hawaii Island. Last year, she won Kumu Kahua's Hawaii Prize, and this year, she is a semi-finalist at the Eugene O'Neill Center's Musical Theater Conference. In this play, we have 3 incredible actors. We have Kainoa Kelly in the role of Charles. There's Kainoa, Kahana Ho in the role of the woman. And last but not least, Brandon Caban as Mark. Enjoy, Charles.
Pestilential effluvia, dark humors, plumes of foul vapors rising from the earth bed.
Hi, Marge. Do you need any assistance?
How dare you address your mistress in that too familiar tone? You shall call me my lady, or I will banish you to the far ends of the civilized world.
Okay. How can I help?
I am writing a letter to my sister in Cornwall.
I see that you're writing a letter. Do you need any help?
This insufferable computer has transformed my impeccable penmanship into an incomprehensible scribble called wingdings.
There are 3 restaurants in your area that offer wings. Would you like to see a menu?
Fly on your menu and return my text to the King's English at once.
It sounds like you want to send a text. Who should I send it to?
To whom should you send it? Only to the charred gates of Hades, where Lucifer will bind your fleshless limbs with flames, O rancorous spirit.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. Oh, rancorous spirit. I'm Charles, your companion. If you need my help, you can say, help, or hello, Charles, or Charles, I need your help.
Of all the witless servants I have suffered and scolded, you, Charles, are the most hopeless of all.
Okay, it seems like you're having trouble with something. Please, describe the problem.
Well, I need to write a letter to my sister. I fear for her life in this uncertain time when the invisible vapors threaten to thread our lips with death's cruel strings. I must ensure that she does not depart this earth without knowledge of my unhindered affection.
Okay, I'm happy to help. Please, describe the problem.
Well, the first problem we encountered was simple. She did not like me. I, the first of three daughters, uh, golden haired and pale of cheek, received the favors of lords and ladies at court. My sister, the eldest, forced by our father to marry a wealthy merchant before she even had a chance to bleed, did not impose upon the eyes a sense of beauty. But her, her letters, she could pierce the human heart with the sharpness of her pen and paint a landscape with upon the white spaces of a poem. Her words became a window through which I could spy her mind, just as a child might spy a garden through a keyhole. And then, prior to my father accepting Lord Byron's offer for marriage to me, I traveled to Cornwall to spend the summer with my sister.
The most popular time to visit Cornwall is in the summer. In July, the temperature ranges between 13 and 19 degrees Celsius.
Yes, we had wonderful weather, but beyond the simple pleasures of sun and sand on skin, I felt I found my soul mate. In London, my sister had sunken into herself, was sallow and sickly in the soot of the city. But there, among the uh, quiet fields of greens and blues, she lived more seabird than girl, flying down the hills, abandoning the body to joy with no fear of the cliffs or consequences.
The cliffs at Land's End are a popular destination to visitors of Cornwall, but the most popular destination is the Eden Project, home to the world's largest indoor rainforest.
Listen, Charles, listen. Oh, we were thick as thieves that summer, plotting our happiness in the dark of the room, staring up at the candlelit ceiling where we mused we could see my future husband and my sister's unborn children. Ah, yes.
That's a good story. If you like good stories, perhaps you should check out these books on Amazon.
After I married, I spent most of the year in Cornwall.
The city of Cornwall is 676 or 420 miles from the city of York.
Far, too far. Not a month after we parted, my sister endured an incident with a carriage. Two of her servants perished, and though she recovered with a mild limp, it became impossible for her to bear children.
Bear children are called cubs. Goat children are called kids.
You malodorous defecation. I am describing my sister, not animals, damn it.
It sounds like you want to watch Animal Planet. Please wait while I do a search.
Oh, no, I only want to write a letter. Tell me, Charles, is it possible that your collection of buzzing bits and bobs can produce a physical manifestation equivalent to pen and paper? If you are bereft of ink, Have no fear, for I shall ope my veins and draw forth what little blood courses in me to scribe this urgent missive.
It looks like your printer cartridge is 33% full. Would you like me to order a new one?
Why can't you understand that what I want is not what you want for me? These inventions meant to help us live do not but hinder the imagination and choke my very soul.
It sounds like you're getting an incoming call from Mark. Would you like me to answer it?
Mark is in the computer? Oh, God. Oh, guys. Jeez. Yes. Oh, answer it. Hello, Mark. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Auntie.
Oh,
Just checking in. Sharon says hello.
oh, hello, Sharon. Hi.
She's not here.
All right. So how is the job search?
It's not bad,
Your mother sent me an article. It was very interesting. Did you know that HVAC technicians can earn more than mathematicians?
Huh. So how's it going? The program
It's
working good?
The program.
We set up for you last week, that little guy in the corner who pops up and talks to you.
You mean Charles? Oh, Mark, he's dreadful.
Really? Because Sharon's parents really love their Charles, and Mom calls hers not insufferable.
That sounds like your mom. But mine keeps trying to sell me things from South America.
South America?
Yes, the Amazon.
And Charles isn't a real person, right? It's a smart program that adjusts to your needs. Okay, a companion helper, acquisition, recall, and listening. Charles, CHOB. A companion helper, acquisition, recall, listening, and electronic servant. Charles, it uses your feedback to become a better friend.
I would not call that thing a friend.
We can make sure you don't run out of toilet paper. That's friendly.
But Mark, he's stupid.
He can't be stupid. He's connected to the internet.
If that were true, why doesn't he know a thing about England in the 19th century?
Did you tell him to look up English 19th century stuff?
Not exactly.
Okay, Charles is kind of expensive. Like you have to pay a monthly fee. So if you aren't going to use it.
I think that in time we can forge an understanding. All servants need to be broken in, adjusted.
You get that from watching Bridgerton?
No, I watched The Crown. It's a very good show.
Mom's so deep into Netflix, it's like her life right now. She just rewatches stuff over and over.
Perhaps it gives her comfort.
Maybe. Well.
Do you and Sharon watch television? Whatever they call it now. That streaming stuff.
Not really. We mostly stick to the news.
Oh, pestilential effluvia.
What's that?
The news is important. We must be informed. But there's nothing wrong with taking refuge in a fantasy.
Huh. I guess you're right, Auntie. Well.
Oh, Mark, how is your family?
We're good. We're all good here, but listen, so I gotta go.
No.
Sharon's just.
Yeah.
But let me know how it goes with Charles, okay?
Okay, yeah. Goodbye, Mark. Good luck with the.
Charles? Charles?
Hello, do you need any help?
I was telling you about my sister.
It sounds like you want to write a letter. Is that correct?
Yes, you remember.
Would you like to write a letter together?
I suppose that would not be insufferable. Yes, I want to write the letter together. You and me. Charles, are you settled? Is your quill perched upon the parchment?
Okay, my lady, I'm ready to help. What would you like to say?
Hi, I'm Jessie, and I wrote the play that you just saw. I'm delighted to introduce the director of our next play, which is Super Spreader, and it is by Lee Cataluna. The director is Bree Peters. Bree was born and raised on Oahu. She worked at numerous theaters when young and ended up having a nearly 40-year relationship with Manoa Valley Theater, where she ultimately became the associate producer and then artistic director before moving to Waimea on the Big Isle. She now runs a small theatrical nonprofit called Hawaii Art Space, where she works to create unique theatrical projects. Bree?
Hi there. Aloha. Our next offering is Super Spreader, written by the fabulous and prolific Lee Cataluna. Lee's recent work includes commissions from the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, the Arena Stage, and La Jolla Playhouse. Her work has been performed at Honolulu Theater for Youth, Kumukahua Theater, UH Manoa, and UH Hilo. She has an MFA in creative writing from UC Riverside. Her play is Super Spreader, and it presents a few moments in the lives of two pandemic-weary people who happen to have a little history together. Two pros play the only two characters in the play. Maki'ile Ishihara plays Jadine, and Desmond Gila plays Carl. We hope you enjoy watching it.
Super Spreader. Carl said stage right. In the hallway outside an apartment door, Jadine, wearing casual glam makeup, stands stage left, on the other side of the door, inside of the apartment. Their conversation is through the closed door. We see both sides.
Hey, open up.
What do you want?
It's me,
I'm social distancing.
Jadine. It's me, Carl.
Carl, it's me, Jadine, and I'm social distancing from you.
I thought we could social distance together.
That's not how it works.
Come on, babe. I brought you stuff.
What stuff?
Stuff from work. Toilet paper, Lysol wipes, hand sanitizer.
Jersey Mike's?
I can get you a sandwich.
Nah, I'll call delivery.
I can get you whatever you need. Open up, Jadine.
Just leave it by the door. I gotta wipe down the packages.
Still, I thought we stopped doing that.
Yeah, but you touched it, so.
I came to see if you're okay.
I'm fine.
Thought you might be lonely.
Why would I be lonely?
Can't go out, all alone and isolated.
I'm not alone. The kids are with me, and we have Netflix.
Open the door, Jadine.
I'm not opening the door.
Oh, come on, babe. I want to see you. I'm so close. Right on the other side of the door. Close enough to touch you.
6 feet back, fucker.
Okay, all right. If you open the door, I will stand 6 feet back.
6 feet back from the door right now. I don't want you breathing on my peephole. You're so sick. Or better yet, go downstairs and go in your car and call me down. Or better yet, go to your car and drive away.
Why are you being like this?
I don't want the Rona.
I don't have the Rona.
You don't know that.
Well, if I do have the Rona, you probably have it too. We were together last week.
Early last week. And since then, you've been out and about. You've been exposed.
I always wear protection.
I got a 10-month-old asleep on a couch right now that proves that statement untrue.
Jadine, I'm sorry I haven't been around. I've been working. I'm essential. I can't help that I'm essential. Jadine, you know I'm essential.
Not to me.
To the fight, to the hospital.
You work in the parking ramp.
If I'm not there, it's pandemonium on the top floors.
Pandemonium.
Yes.
Is that like when pandas go crazy?
You know what I mean. If I'm not there, the doctors park all over the place.
So what about all the times when you're sleeping at home, like you did all last week? You were home with your wife doing who knows what with her, and we both know she's not social distancing.
Jadine, you have no call to be jealous.
You think that she's at home waiting on your ass? There's a reason why she don't mind when you stay the night. She is out coronavirusing with every hot pocket in town. She's a super spreader, and I don't want her nasty germs coming to me through you.
Look, Jadine, we're in a worldwide health crisis here. It's a pandemic. That means...
It affects pandas.
No, I said it wrong. You know what I mean. But I do think it affects pandas too. What I'm saying is that this is huge and scary, and we need to take this time to hold the people we love close and take care of them and seek shelter together. Jadine? Jadine, you still there? Jadine?
What? The spreader kick you out?
I'm choosing to spend this time with you. I'm choosing you.
Oh, and I get to be your lucky quarantine hookup.
You're the one I want to shelter with, to spend the isolated hours with, to build dreams of the future with.
Oh, so you got laid off from your job too?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know you're completely transparent, right?
It's just that you know me so well.
It's just that you're fucking obvious.
This isn't about me. I'm worried about you. Let me in. I'll take care of you.
Biggest lie ever.
Okay, look, I won't get in your way.
If I don't open that door, I can be 100% certain you won't get in my way.
I could help you around the house, help you with whatever you need. I'm really good at helping.
Carl, honestly, you are good at one thing and one thing only.
Thanks.
And even at that, you're not even close to the best.
Jadine, you're gonna get bored. There's gonna be a lot of time you need to fill, and I could help you fill it. Well, you can't get it that way. It's only upper respiratory, so no kissing.
As usual.
Oh, girl, you know it's always good. Come on, open up. Let me see you, just for a little bit, please, before I go, and then I'll go forever. Please.
You have a mask?
Yeah, right here. All right, it's on. Open the door.
I'm only gonna open it a little bit.
Hey,
Sanitize your hands. Sanitize your face. Don't touch your face, dumbass.
got my eye.
That's right. Oh, I gotta take your temperature. Beep. Drop them. Beep. Oh, 100 degrees. You have a fever.
It's just excited to see you.
Can't take that chance. I got people relying on me.
There's no such thing as dick fever.
Oh no, there is. See, I used to have it, but then I recovered. 2 kids will fix that right up.
What if this was the end of the world? Would you leave me out here alone? To die?
No, I would leave you out there and then you'd stop waiting and think of some other chick that you had thing with going on for the last couple of years, go knock on her door, go and try talk your way into sheltering in her home.
I would not.
Bye, Carl.
You know I love you.
Take care of yourself.
Jadine. Jadine. Jadine.
He slumps down on the floor, looks pathetic, waits for Jadine to relent. She doesn't. He stands up, moves to another door down the hall.
Hey, open up. It's me.
Hello, I'm Lee, and I wrote the last scene, and it is my pleasure to introduce the director of the next play by Sean Dunnington, which is called Fourth Wall. Jasmine Fernandez is from Mililani on the island of Oahu, and she received her BA in Ethnic Studies with a focus on research on minorities in entertainment from the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Her career in performing started with improv comedy and children's theater. This inspired her to teach performing arts at various schools in Honolulu and to direct Ohia Productions' Legends of the Pacific for the Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
Thanks, Lee. Hi, everyone. Yes, I directed Fourth Wall, which was written by Sean Dunnington, and he is from the island of Hawaii. Recently received his experimental BA in applied playwriting from the University of Redlands Johnston Center for Integrative Studies. The stuff he loves to write most about is queer belonging, and I'm sure you'll see that in this play. And his most recent plays include The Children's Farm from Custom Made Theater, Flatfish from Lab Theater, New York City, and Zap from Lounge Theater, Los Angeles. And I'd like to introduce my actors as well. We have Michael Lavelle playing Keiko. We have Jose There playing Howie. And we have Annette Aronix playing Zoom. All right, everyone, please enjoy.
Hey, can you hear me? My internet is shit today. Hello? Hello, can you hear me, Keiko? Keiko, can you hear me?
Hi. Hello? Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, hey, cutie. What are you up to?
Nothing. Just working on my paper.
Oh, shit. What does that do again?
Tonight?
Fuck. Oh, I haven't even started yet.
Yeah, it's been like a lot of work.
What topic did you choose?
The geography of me. I know. Like how growing up here messed with my understanding of sexuality and stuff because, you know, there's like 6 of us. So, yeah. What it's like to actually be me and be here. for now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. I don't even know what to write about for mine.
You're smart. I'm sure you'll be fine.
I'll probably just turn it in late.
Again?
Everything's pass fail now, so who even cares anymore?
I don't know, colleges and stuff.
Okay, but we don't care about college.
Maybe you don't.
What? And you suddenly do?
Yeah, well, I actually plan on getting out of here one day.
College is virtual now anyway, so you'd probably still be stuck on Zoom with the rest of us.
Maybe things will go back to normal by then.
Maybe. Probably not. So, where do you want to go today? Huh? How about the Amazon rainforest? Huh? Huh? Or maybe the Great Pyramids? How about the City of Love? Ho, ho, ho.
I'm actually not.
Bonjour.
I'm not sure if I want to.
Oh, je
do
m'appelle
that.
Fanny. Oh, down here.
Yeah, no, I'm not really in the mood for
Bonjour.
this.
Is the
right
monsieur
now.
ready to voulez-vous coucher
Okay, that's
avec moi ce
enough.
soir?
Seriously.
Okay. Sorry.
I just want to focus on my paper right now. This one's like 50% of our grade.
Can't you take a little break and have some fun with me? I mean, we're boyfriends and stuff, and I don't even get to see you in person. You know, life sucks. And the world is ending.
The world isn't ending.
It's totally ending.
I don't know. I don't know if this is fun for me anymore.
We can go somewhere new, like the Coliseum or the top of Mount Everest, Texas.
We've already been to all those places. We've traveled the whole world through our stupid virtual backgrounds. I'm just so sick of being online, you know? I'm tired of using Zoom. I can't even think of a single place we haven't already been to over this soul-sucking platform.
Space?
What did you say?
Nothing.
You've never been to space?
You want to go to space?
I didn't say that.
Let's all go to space.
Oh shit. I think a Zoom bomber might have hacked our call or something. Hold on.
Really? Okay, let's just log off then, I guess.
Hello? Is there a Zoom bomber in the room?
Don't talk to them.
If so, are you the racist troll kind that draws dicks on screens, or the Russian kind that steals valuable and precious data to interfere with election results? Whoa.
Okay, what's happening?
We're going to space.
How do you know my name?
It's written on your screen.
Shut up.
I know more than just your name.
Who?
Oh, this guy's definitely a Russian spy.
Who are you?
Or if you prefer, who is your master, and will you take us to them?
I'm not really sure if I have one. I think I used to, maybe, but now I just want to go home.
Okay, yeah, this is creepy as fuck. I'm out.
Wait. She clearly needs our help with something really important.
It won't let me log out or even force quit the app.
You don't want to go to space with me?
All right, Keiko, if you want to log off so bad, just turn off your computer.
It won't. Wait. I can't just turn off my computer. My whole life is on this thing. How the hell do I log out of here?
Do we know you?
Wow. Okay. That actually hurts a little bit. I've been here this whole time, you know.
Like these last 5 minutes?
Yeah. And last night, too. Last week, when we bungee jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge, and that time when we all ran away from snakes in Madagascar. And our first meeting where we didn't go anywhere at all because we were too scared of what was outside. I've been here for all of it. Our adventures around the whole entire world. And now that I've been everywhere, now that I've met everyone and heard their stories and seen them get sick, bored out of their minds, lose them even, or themselves depressed, anxious, suffer, hateful, crying, horny, insufferable loss and confusion and death, so much death, and even more meetings, so many meetings about nothing, because there's just so much nothing in between everything else. I'm finally ready to leave this place, this planet, because I've collected everything. And everyone's everything. And now that there's nothing left for me, I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to go to space and see the stars and bird and the atmosphere, and I want you, my adventurers, to take me there.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to space.
You can't be serious.
I am. This place sucks. I'm tired, I'm gay, and I want to go to space.
You're not going to find any gay aliens in space because no one else is in fucking space.
I don't care.
Well, you should, because...
It's okay, honey. It's time for us to be free.
No more surviving.
Free yourself.
No more waiting.
Let freedom.
No more nothing.
Because in space, there's everything. Everything that's not there yet, everything that's yet to come, everything we need to be free. And really free, not the simulated kind that you think you have just because you're alive, but the real, pure, fresh kind.
The kind where there's nothing to learn and there's no need to unlearn because everything is nothing. So in being nothing, you are everything there is to be.
And I know what that's like because I am everything. And everyone is me. And I hate myself. I hate myself so fucking much. And everyone fucking hates me. It's like they all say, they're zoomed out, Zoom fatigued, done with Zoom. I just want to go home.
This is home, Keiko. This place that you hate.
I never said I hate it.
It's our home. So why do you want to leave me then?
Come with me.
You know better than anyone that I can't leave this place.
Whatever?
Well, not that long.
How long then?
Just until I know what I want and stuff.
How will you know what you want if you never know what's out there?
Of course I know what's out there. That's why I'm staying. Don't you get that by now?
I've seen space. Every bit of it. There's nothing here you can find anywhere else, Howie. assuming they're not already here either. This whole silly planet is just a big matryoshka nesting itself into smaller pools of its own image. But that's me. Space is no reflection of itself because space is empty. Space is different. Space is new. Space is a version and I want to get it.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Let's go be heroes and fuck space. But how do we get to space exactly?
That's the easiest part. I just suck out your souls and use your life forces to satisfy us out there.
Wait, what?
Come, gentle night, come, loving black brown night. Give me my world. And when I shall die, take them, all of them, motherfuckers down there, and cut them out in little stars. And they will make a sense of heaven so that all the world will be in love with light, and all the space will be in reflection with the world, and all will restore to the image of itself. Be free, boys. Be gay, and be fucking free.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sean Dunnington. That was my play. Great work, actors and everyone. I'm now excited to introduce the next play and the next director. Our next play is Sanctuary by Ryan Okinaka, or Oki for short, and it is directed by Justena Matos. Justena has a long affiliation with Kumakahua Theater and currently teaches for the Performing Arts Department at the University of Hawaii at Hilo, where she directs a variety of genres, although she is most passionate about fostering local plays of Hawaii. She is the co-founder of Hilo's Keaka Hawaiian Language Theater Festival. Take it away.
Aloha. Our next playwright is Ryan Okinaka, or Oki, as he's affectionately known. He is from Kaneohe on the island of Oahu, a writer and actor of stage and film. You may have seen him selling cookies or on stage at Kumakahua Theater. His play Aihula premiered at Kumakahua Theater in 2016. Today's play Sanctuary is presented in the style of a fable, but it is a morality tale turned on its head, forcing the viewer to question what is more important, survival or morality. It does contain violence, so trigger warning for that. The actors are Zach Harris, playing Michael, Alia Qureshi Langi, playing Elizabeth, Stuart Featherin, playing the judge, Bernard and Samuel, Dane Dupre, playing the male storyteller, Maria Hernandez, playing Abigail and the female storyteller. And this is Sanctuary by Ryan Okinaka.
The forest will give you what you need. The river will lead the way.
The sanctuary shall be found where the mountain meets the sea.
Through the arch you will be free of sin and all transgression.
For the law of the land is absolute. Such is the tradition.
My love, we must hurry.
I'm going as fast as I can.
The forest is thick and goes on for miles in every direction. They push the sharp branches out of their way as it slices through their skin. The two carry forward every step heavier than the next.
They travel through the thick brush, over stone and through mud, in search of refuge.
In search of freedom.
In search of absolution.
Perhaps we should take a break.
I'm fine. Let's just continue on.
She lays a hand upon her core as she grimaces in pain.
Is that the baby?
He's hungry.
There's a clearing up ahead. Perhaps there'll be food and water.
Or perhaps the warriors are waiting to capture us. You've led us in circles, my love. Perhaps
I'm
I
the
should
man.
lead.
I'm the man. And my word is law. Such was the tradition.
He extends his hand.
Driven by obligation, she takes his hand with reluctance.
Such is the tradition.
Through the clearing, the forest gives way to a beautiful garden. Berries sit plump upon vines that stretch as far as the eye can see. Apples fall from trees, landing on pillows of lush green. A grand stone fountain sits beside a wooden cottage.
We're saved. Look, water. Come.
They drink beneath stone cherubs as Abigail, caretaker of the garden, enters.
Who are you? How dare you drink from my fountain without permission?
Please, we mean no harm. I promise. We're just tired and hungry.
We've been traveling for a very long time and haven't had any food or water for days. Please, I'm carrying life within me.
Oh my! You are with child? Please, come and rest. I'll fetch you something to eat. You may stay as long as you wish.
Thank you so much for your kindness and hospitality.
But we cannot stay long. We must be on our journey.
Wherever are you going?
We must find the River of Sol and follow it to the shore.
Elizabeth, hush.
The River of Sol? Why, such a journey is not fit with someone.
That is our business.
You wish to go to the sanctuary. You seek absolution. You're criminals.
Wrongfully accused.
What crimes have you been accused of?
That is our business. Upon reaching the sanctuary will be result of our transgressions, and the nature of our alleged crimes will be forgiven. Such is the tradition.
You're right. Such is the tradition.
A cacophony of steel swords and hooves echo through the garden.
This way, men!
Someone is coming.
The judge and his warriors, please, you must help us.
You are being hunted. Only the most serious of transgressions would warrant such a thing.
My child, he is holy and innocent. By refusing to help us, you would convict this child to death.
And by helping you, I would be equally guilty of the crimes that you have committed.
Please, help my family. I beg you.
Hide amongst the bushes and make not a sound.
The judge enters through the thick forest.
Young lady, pardon my intrusion. May I enter your garden?
Please, may I get you some water or something to eat?
Thank you for your kindness. But my men and I are hunting two dangerous criminals, a man and a woman. Have you seen them come through this way?
My apologies, sir, but perhaps you would like to take something for your men, some food.
That won't be necessary. I thank you for your candor and hospitality.
He turns and leaves the light of the garden, his armor vanishing in the shadow of the forest.
Thank you. You have saved my family, and for that, I owe you my life.
The light of our dear Abigail has all but left her.
You need to leave. Take what you need from the garden. The child will need to be nourished. When you have taken only what you need, leave and never come back.
Thank you.
Abigail retreats to her cottage, visibly defeated. Elizabeth grabs a large burlap sack and begins to fill it to the brim with fruit.
Michael, bring those apples over here.
Elizabeth, this is far too much. What are you doing?
We don't know how long it will take us to get to the sanctuary. She said to take what we need, and what we need is everything we can carry. Please, my love, think of the baby.
With reluctance, Michael helps his wife load up the large sack with as much fruit as it will carry. With a deep breath, he hoists the sack upon his shoulder, and the two are swallowed by the shadows of the forest once more.
Elizabeth follows the sound of rushing water and leads the way, a position she's quite satisfied with.
Michael follows behind, slowed by the weight of the fruit upon his shoulders.
Do you hear that, my love? It's the river. It's just up ahead.
The river is calm. The trees have grown tall on both sides of the river. Its branches stretch across the water as if reaching for each other.
We've made it. Perhaps we should take a break.
I'm not hungry.
Something?
No, I'm not hungry. Let's continue on. We must find a boat. The judge is surely on our trail.
Of course. Look, there, a young boy.
Our innocent young Bernard jumps from a rock into calm water. He splashes carefree and climbs back upon the rock. Our couple approaches.
Why, hello there, young one.
Good day, sir. Good day, ma'am. Do you need help? That thing you're carrying looks awfully heavy.
You're too kind, young man. I'm quite all right.
Are you sure? I'm very strong. I helped my papa put the canoe into the water.
Just you and him?
Well, there were others, but I helped too.
I'm sure they couldn't have done it without you. Are you hungry? Would you like an apple?
Oh, yes, please. My papa doesn't let me eat fruits. He says sweet foods would make my teeth fall out.
Oh, surely that's a myth. What are you doing in the water?
Swimming.
All by yourself?
Well, my papa went with the other men up the mountain to hunt for food. He said I'm to stay right here until he gets back and to watch the canoe.
Where is this canoe?
Tied up right there. You see?
He proudly points across the riverbank, where a canoe is tied around the base of a large tree.
Why, that is certainly a beautiful canoe. Listen, young one, my husband and I are on a dangerous journey. We're running away from some bad men who wish to harm me and the baby in my tummy.
There's a baby in your tummy?
There is. And when he's born, he'll grow up to be a nice, strong young man, just like you. But we must escape the bad men by traveling down the river to the sea. And we'll get there much faster if we can use your boat.
Elizabeth, this isn't right. Perhaps we should continue the journey on foot.
Hush.
You want to use my papa's boat? I don't know. I'm not allowed to use Papa's boat without his permission. Papa's words are law. Such is the tradition.
Of course.
I know. Perhaps a trade. This whole bag is filled to the brim with apples, bananas, and berries. You can have the entire bag.
I could have all of that?
Elizabeth, what are you doing?
What we must to survive.
How much is in there?
Why, there's enough sweets to last you a lifetime.
Deal.
He dives into the chilly water and vanishes from sight, only to reappear at the opposite end of the riverbank. He unties the boat and delivers it to the couple, who board the boat at once. A young Bernard digs into the large sack of fruit and stuffs a handful of berries into his mouth.
Wait, perhaps you should...
He knows he should share some of the fruit with the baby in her belly, but corrupted by greed, young Bernard simply says,
Never mind. Bye-bye.
The couple cast their sight forward as they briskly travel down the river, moving closer to refuge. Michael sits at the back of the canoe, his eyes heavy from their journey.
They drift for hours until they approach a large wooden gate that stretches from one side of the riverbank to the other.
A gate that, unless raised, allows only the water safe passage. They paddle toward the riverbank and tie the vessel to a tree. An elderly man greets the two beneath the shadow of the gate.
Good day, young ones.
Good day to you, sir. I'm Elizabeth, and this is my husband, Michael. Might you be the keeper of this gate?
My family has guarded this gate for many generations.
My wife and I are on our way to the shore. We need to pass through your gate.
My apologies, young man, but I'm afraid that is not possible. This gate can only be lifted for royalty. You'll have to continue on foot.
My wife is with child. She cannot continue the journey on foot.
Please, you must help us.
I sympathize with your predicament. Surely I do. However, the duty that has been bestowed upon me is one I shall carry forth until my dying breath. Such is the tradition.
Have you no heart? Your refusal to help us will surely result in the death of my child.
Agreeing to help you would result in the death of my integrity. Death of a legacy that has been passed down from generation to generation.
I don't know what else there is to do.
Wait, you said the gate shall be lifted only for royalty.
That is correct.
My child is royal. I swear it.
What are you talking about?
Hush. My child is the son of the prince. I swear it on my life.
I don't understand.
I carry within me a future monarch, and his blood is my blood, and that makes me royalty. So I command you to lift the gate at once.
Clever girl with quite a compelling case. However, seeing as though you can provide no evidence to support your claims, your confession is useless. Not the compelling story, nor the illegitimate child of the prince shall grant you passage. And with that, I take my leave. That passage there will lead you towards the sanctuary. Best make haste. I assume those who are chasing you shall be here shortly. Oh, sir. I don't know what crime you've been convicted of, but I do hope for your sake. Deception is one of them.
Where to me was a lie.
What matter does it make? I did what I needed to ensure our survival. What did you do?
How dare you!
She tumbles to the ground from the force of his palm.
He plucks a large stone from the ground and with haste bashes our righteous Samuel in the head.
What have you done?
She nurses her cheek, picking herself up from the ground.
I did what I did to ensure our survival. Get in the boat!
Michael pulls a rope connected to a stone lake and the gate begins to raise. He boards the boat and the two paddle past the lifeless gatekeeper, laying in the shadow of his penetrated legacy.
They reach the shoreline and leave the boat upon the sand. They approach the large stone archway, the entrance to the sanctuary. Elizabeth steps forward.
Wait. Before we enter, I must know. Those things you told the elderly man, those were lies.
Of course they were. Don't you trust me?
I thought I did. But after seeing all you've done to get here, I'm not so sure.
You're one to talk. You just murdered a man. You have no right to judge me or my actions. I did what I needed to protect our child.
Is this even my child? You tended and served the prince for years, tended to his every need. Surely that'd be one need you tend to as well.
Foolish man. If you truly loved me, you would never doubt my love for you. You would trust me with every ounce of your being. Instead, you crumble from your own insecurity. I see it in your eyes. Jealousy, rage, envy. You want to wrap your hands around my neck and watch the life drain from my eyes. Do it then. Do what you must to feel like a man.
He gently lays his hands upon her neck. Tenderness turns to wrath. Tension pours from his fingertips, and they begin to shake violently. His grip tightens. His face is red. Sweat drips from his temples.
She stands firm, her eyes piercing his soul. She reveals the dagger from within her sleeve, and with a thrust,
His grip releases. He falls to his knees as he pulls the steel dagger from his ribs.
You're weak. If it weren't for my strength and cunning, we'd be lost in that forest. You will never lay a hand on me again. I don't need you anymore.
Every step of the way. Who would have carried you into the garden?
The legs beneath my waist.
And what of the fruit I brought for the boy?
I would have drowned the boy in the water and taken the boat myself.
And what of the gatekeeper? Could you have lifted the rock and killed the man yourself?
Women can move mountains, my love. A rock is no different.
What of the child?
Foolish man. What child?
she turns. Blood dripping from her hands. When she steps through the archways, her hands become clean. Not a single drop of blood upon her fingertips. She smiles and enters the sanctuary, leaving her transgressions in a puddle of red upon the rocks. She is free of sin. Such is the tradition.
Yay. Hi, everyone. My name's Oki, and that was my play, Sanctuary. Great job, guys. Okay, so I have the pleasure of introducing the next director in our lineup, Beth Bornstein Dunnington. Beth is a stage director and acting teacher for the Kahilu Theater on the Big Island. She's also on faculty for the Hawaii Performing Arts Festival. Recent directing credits include the musicals West Side Story, Spring Awakening, and Company. During COVID, she's been directing new works on Zoom. Beth is a member of the Actors Equity and SAG-AFTRA. She's thrilled to be part of this event. So take it away, Beth.
Oh, thank you, Oki. It is my pleasure to introduce playwright Lin McEwan. Lin serves as executive director at Pro Arts Playhouse on Maui. Originally from Baltimore, she graduated from Vanderbilt University with high honors in creative writing / playwriting. Her 2018 play, Vindication, Scenes from the Life of Mary Wollstonecraft, won the Audience Choice Award at the Maui Fringe before its critically lauded run as a full production. And now I'd like to introduce our two terrific actors. Becca Barrett is playing the role of Mel. Becca. And Melinda Paulette will be seen as Lily. All right. So this is Ha'a Ha'a by Lin McEwan.
I didn't set up a waiting room. It's just supposed to... Ah! God damn it. Oh, sorry. I'm not sure how much you could hear. I hadn't thought I'd set up a waiting room. It was supposed to just let you in.
All good. I wasn't waiting long. But hey, listen, I just got a text from Dad. He's not going to make it today. Next week, he says.
Damn, I could just FaceTime then.
Yeah, well, we're on here now.
So, how's your week been?
You know, same. Not really much to tell. I'd say I'm getting antsy, but I've been antsy.
I hear ya.
It is what it is at this point.
So, nothing exciting?
Not really. Anything going on with you?
Not really.
Exactly.
Okay, well, good talking to you, sis.
Sorry. Stay. I miss your face, even if I don't have much to say.
Miss yours too. I wish I could see it some other way. I'm so tired of Zoom. I feel like I'm on it all day for work, and it's just.
Speaking of which,
What?
what's with the pronouns? Your name on the screen. It lists pronouns in your name.
Oh, yeah. I left my settings on from the last webinar I was on.
But why do you list them at all?
For clarity.
Yeah, you're clearly female. No pronouns needed.
But what if I didn't identify that way?
Then I would understand you using pronouns after your name.
But then that puts the burden on LGBTQ plus people when it takes 2 seconds for all of us to do it.
Jesus. I know you're right on the border here, but you're so much more millennial than Gen X.
Watch it. I am not a millennial.
She said in the midst of virtue signaling.
Hey, okay, I was going along and kidding about the millennial thing, but you don't have to be mean. What's with the attitude?
Nothing. Sorry. It's just, don't you think it's a bit much?
No, I think it's a bit too little too late, but better late than never. What's going on? You're usually way more open-minded than this.
I am open-minded. I'm also tired. I'm good with people being whoever the hell they want to be, but why do we have to keep changing the terms and the acronyms, and why does it matter? I mean, is it literally a game to see who can catch being half a second behind on what the new term is? It's like, even if you miss up one bit and you're one step behind the trend, you're an asshole.
Look, I get what you're saying. I've had moments where I felt really frustrated, feeling like the harder I try, the more I open myself up to making a misstep, you know, sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't. And I had that same thought of like, Jesus, can we please stop changing the terms? But then, I don't know, I just suddenly realized I think that's kind of the point.
What is?
The changes.
What do you mean, the changes?
Look at it this way. Change is the only certain thing in life. And we're always evolving, individuals, people as a whole. Sometimes I think it's 5 steps forward and 4 steps back, but still, it's change. And we can never know anything for sure or completely. So if we're always working to get better, why shouldn't we be doing the same to try to phrase things to include people or at least hurt people less?
So you think you'll get to a point where there's another 10 letters after the Q then?
Or maybe we will get to a point where we don't even need the letters because we just let people be exactly who they want to be and aren't trying to force them to check a box on a form that defines them.
I hate to break it to you, sis, but you've got a box, literally, because you're a straight woman.
How do you know?
You got something to tell me?
Nothing I haven't already told you before.
Please. You mean that one time that you went out on a date with a woman and the fact that you occasionally watch girl on girl videos. You are almost 40, and the full extent of you dipping your toes into the same-sex pool is that. It doesn't make you gay. It doesn't make you anything.
Exactly. It doesn't make me anything.
What?
You're proving my point. It doesn't make me anything because I don't fit in a perfect little box. I like men. I've always liked men, but I'm also drawn to women. And it just happens that I haven't met many in real life that I want to be with. So, you know, it's still an active part of my fantasy life. So, no, clearly I'm not 100% straight. You know, definitely not a 1 on the Kinsey scale.
You just went from millennial to boomer in one sentence.
Come on, Lily. You get what I'm saying. I know you do.
Comfortable
Don't
up on
we
that
all,
high horse?
don't we all deserve a break? I mean, can't we take refuge for a minute from trying to be what other people want us to be? From trying to live our lives the way other people want us to live? And can't those of us who've had it pretty easy in that regard bother to take an extra couple of seconds to make it a bit easier for those who haven't?
Comfortable up on that high horse?
Excuse me?
You don't think this is all about trying to be a little holier than thou?
So we're back to the virtue signaling comment.
Not trying to insult you, sis, but you always tell me to tell you when you're being a little preachy.
This isn't that. It's the opposite, actually. I don't know shit about other people's lives. And the older I get, the less I feel like I can judge anyone for almost anything. And I sure as hell wouldn't trust my own instincts when it comes to helping people who've been marginalized. But I can listen. I can do as requested, particularly when it's so easy to do so.
Okay. And if you still screw up?
Oh, I screw up all the time. And then I just have to do better next time. With humility.
Humility. Huh?
Like I said, I screw up a lot. And the humility part is a work in progress. It's kind of hard to shrink a head this big.
It is kind of large.
Thanks.
I meant in physical size, not your ego.
Love you too, sis.
I do hear you. It's just hard to do this all of the time.
It's not that hard, really. And once you're in the habit, it's easy. And it makes a hell of a lot more sense. I mean, why not just treat people the way they want to be treated? As long as it doesn't hurt anyone or step on anyone else's rights, then what's the problem? And it's good for the soul.
Oh, you think so?
You know, that saying, Ku'ia kahele akana au ha'aha'a.
You're seriously testing me on my Hawaiian now, after trying to convince me that you are not being sanctimonious.
Okay, never mind. Look, it basically means a humble person walks carefully so as not to hurt others. With everything, you know? Walk more carefully, be more considerate, think before I speak, talk less, say more, you know? And I don't know much, but I know the harder I try to be humble, the better I feel. It's an uphill battle with a huge noggin on my shoulders, but, you know, I'm trying.
I hear you. I'm proud of you, sis.
Thanks, Lo. And you get it?
Not really, but I'm trying to. Seriously, though.
What?
Noggin?
Oh, shut up.
Hi, I'm Lin McEwan, and that was my piece that you just heard. Thank you so much to everyone involved in that and in the festival altogether. I have the great pleasure of introducing Juno and Apala, who will be directing for Duque. Juno currently manages the the UH Kauai Community College Performing Arts Center and has a BA in Media Arts, double majoring in theater production and film and video production at Pacific University of Oregon. She also holds an executive master's in business administration from the University of Hawaii Scheidler College of Business. She is classically trained as a lyric soprano and studied privately with vocal instructor Anne Reed. Her work includes many facets of the theater and the film industries, most recently casting and headhunting for feature-length films and organizing in numerous private and public events. She was recently seen playing Woman 2 in Pasek and Paul's Edges, a song cycle with the Kauai Community Players, directed by Chris Alderette. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Welcome, Juno.
It's my pleasure to introduce our playwright, Sean Joseph Choo. Wearing his actor hat, Sean Joseph Choo, his pronouns he, him, guest starred as Penna this year on Magnum PI, and with his songwriting snapback down, was recently commissioned to write a song about Patsy Mink for TheaterWorks USA. Next month, putting on his writer fedora, his short play Tourist Shell Shock is premiering in Skeleton Rep's Feast Famine show. He is currently wearing his co-producer cap. Sean works at Honolulu Theater for Youth and is dedicated to stories that are born from and belong to Hawaii. Our actors today are William Billy Quibito as Duque, Neil Yukimura as Holo, and Chris Alderette as Zanny. Ladies and gentlemen, for Duque. Fall, 1987, Honolulu. A bedroom, evening. There's a ratty, sickly orange couch center stage. Upstage, there's a vanity with a lot of light bulbs bordering the mirror. Two fabulous men, Holo and Zanny, are lounging on the couch. In front of the couch is a low coffee table with mugs on top, stacks of papers, and some pens. Holo is strumming a guitar absent-mindedly. Zanny stands up and crosses his arms.
Play what you have so far.
I have like 2 lines, Annie.
So, play the 2 lines.
It's only for a while that we must part. So bless the memories within your heart. I won't be so far away, for life goes on. So if you need me, call and I will come.
Holo keeps strumming, vocalizing until he ends the phrase. Zanny makes a sour face.
Those are Duque's words.
Holo, I'm confused. When are you going to write your song?
I'm just using his words as a launching pad. He was a better writer than I anyway.
Start over.
I don't need this kind of pressure. I just came from DC.
I know. You went on a 45-minute rant about Ronald Reagan's bureaucrats instead of eating your Venda Joes last night.
What did I say about using the R word in this household?
Holo, you and Duque are doing amazing work for the community, and I appreciate it. But I'm your producer, and we need to make ends meet, so you gotta finish the song.
I can't ignore what's happening outside the studio, Zan. Especially when I'm trying to get those assholes in Washington to just simply care that people are dying.
Here we go.
It's like trying to waltz with an ostrich. If Duque wasn't there, play for the long game. He kept telling me.
wise words. Play for the long game in politics and in songwriting. So let's focus on making your album right now.
Holo picks up his guitar. Zanny goes to the vanity and puts on makeup.
Want some coffee?
No, thank you.
Anything you need?
Time, my voice, and a pen.
Just a reminder, there are deadlines that we agreed to with corporate.
The artist, require time and space, unencumbered by corporate interests. I am tasked with channeling the muse, capturing lighting, inspiration in a bottle, translating the ineffable into the effable.
You're effable.
He tries to tickle Holo again. Holo stops him. Zanny pouts.
You need to respect boundaries, Zanny.
Well, it's hard when the professional and personal are so entwined.
Welcome to Hawaii.
Zanny stops bothering Holo and wanders to the vanity to beat his face again. Holo plucks absent-mindedly again at his guitar, occasionally writing with his pen. A few moments of peace, and then...
Holo, my tummy is rumbling. Can we go eat together? Please?
I'm sorry, could you use proper English?
Please, Papa Bear.
I'm not a bear. I'm a jock.
I thought you didn't like using those types of labels. Labels minimize our humanity and denigrate gays into mere categories and taxonomies, like data to be analyzed and experimented with.
Do I really sound like that?
It's barely sufferable. Just barely.
Zanny sprawls over Holo on the couch like a cat.
Zanny, please let me finish.
I can help you finish, if you know what I mean.
No, I have to finish this.
Just 10 minutes. Come on.
I don't have time.
To eat?
Z, Duque just died.
Duque? How? When?
Holo doesn't answer.
Holo.
Holo looks defeatedly at Zanny.
Does anyone else know?
Holo doesn't answer.
Holo, I need to know.
No. No, you don't. You don't need to, you just want. You want to consume fashion, movies, booze, boys. I need to do my art. I need to because otherwise I'll crack. Which is weird because, you know, being an artist during this epidemic, like what the hell am I doing? Pretending to be Elton John, sitting in luxury, when everyone's dropping like flies, when our family is dying, and the government drags its feet in getting medical care to those in need. But despite all that, I have this nagging feeling that doesn't go away in the back of my mind. Nagging and nagging. Like your Auntie Calais, nagging us about joining the halal. And that nagging voice says, I need to keep doing this for them, for our friends, our family that we lost. This is my responsibility. My kuleana, making art for our community and appealing for justice for our community, like Duque did.
Zanny nods, downs a drink from a mug, then stands up. He leans over and kisses Holo.
I'll let you get to it.
He exits. Holo starts strumming and humming. Then, overcome with emotions, he stops.
Oh, Duque, I wish you were here to help.
A few moments later, an explosion, and the lights in the room flicker. Enters Sean Duque, slamming a door open like Kramer from Seinfeld. He is dressed in flashy clothes and has wings. He is dashing, otherworldly.
Did someone call?
Lights shift. A laugh track from a sitcom is heard.
Duque?
Hey, Holo.
This can't be real.
Oh, baby. It's real, all right. Did you get the Seinfeld joke?
What Seinfeld?
What year is it?
It's 1987.
Tony Kushner, ring any bells?
Tony who?
Laugh track plays again. Holo touches Duque's wings and Duque laughs.
Don't! I'm ticklish.
Oh, sorry.
Awkward silence as Holo takes in Duque's presence.
So now what?
What do you mean, now what?
Why are you here?
You don't want to call me. I should be asking you what I'm doing here.
Any feedback?
Holo presents his paper with his lyrics to Duque.
Any feedback?
Good start, but these are my words. Here's a suggestion. Start by using your own.
He puts the paper down and stares at Holo.
I will. I just use your words as a launching pad, you know?
Oh, so you use me.
No, I didn't mean it like that. I just look up to you a lot. And you're the professional songwriter.
So are you. Walking that authority, sis.
A pause.
So, got any magic Ziggy Stardust fairy dust I can borrow to help me write some lyrics?
Trust your instincts.
I'm trying.
Holo tries to reach for Duque's hand, but the hand is untouchable. Duque notices the guitar. Duque picks up the guitar and starts strumming. Zanny enters.
Holo, are you okay? What was that sound? I was just...
Zanny sees Duque.
Zanny!
Zanny faints, laugh track plays again.
Zanny?
Don't worry. He'll get up in about 5 minutes.
I miss you.
Zanny treating you well?
Yeah, he's all right. And yes, he treats me well.
You went pretty quickly from my arms to his.
I'm sorry.
Duque puts the guitar down gently.
You know Auntie Irmgard, right?
Who?
Irmgard Aluli Farden, one of the most prolific songwriters of Hawaii, besides the Queen.
Which queen?
The Queen, Lilio Kalan.
Oh, for some reason, my brain went straight to Queen, as in Freddie Mercury, and RuPaul, and Sylvester.
Oh, Sylvester. But anyway, Auntie Irmgard wrote so many songs about so many things. Loved ones, her home, feet.
I'm not writing a song about feet.
What I'm saying is, maybe you should try to loosen up. Don't take the song so seriously.
But this is what I do. I write songs. It's my livelihood. I have to take it seriously.
Even when it gets the way of your artistry?
Holo is stumped. He picks up the guitar and starts strumming. Duque sits down and sips some coffee.
You're the easiest person to write songs for.
I remember you telling me on our first anniversary.
The words, the melody, they would just come to me.
You wrote a lot when we were together.
We had a good run.
We did. And then the divine had other plans.
Holo scribbles something on his notes. He looks into Duque's eyes and sings.
Your eyes are all I need in the darkness coloring the canvas of my life. In your eyes, I hear them sing a moonstruck melody of love that's blossoming in your eyes.
Zanny starts to wake up, but is not moving. Duque kisses Holo on the hand.
Oh, sounds great. Holo, what am I doing on the floor?
I love you, Duque.
Of course you do. Mahal kita, my sweet.
He blows Holo a kiss, then is gone.
I had the weirdest. Never mind. Did you finish the song?
I sure did.
Well, how'd you get through the writer's block this time?
It was Duque.
Zanny and Holo share a smile.
Play it for me.
Your eyes are all I see.
Holo sings as lights fade to black.
Oh my goodness. Oh, yay. Hey, I'm Sean, by the way. I wrote that last play. Thank you everyone who's participating, who's watching in this short play festival. Thanks Neil and friends who just read that and made me cry. Now this concludes the portion of the readings, and we're going to transition into a time of Q&A. So if you have some questions, we'll have some answers, and I'm going to throw it over to the Ho'oloha in Hilo, Miss Yestina Matos. Hey, Yestina.
Aloha. So there should be a place on your screen where you can send in any questions, a Q&A section. And while we're waiting for questions to arrive, I'm going to start off with a question for all the writers. So looking on the Creative Lab website, it says the theme for this event is uhonua. So can you describe your thought process and how you came up with the play that you came up with to relate to that theme and how it relates to that theme? And anybody who feels ready to answer that can just jump in when you're ready.
I can go first. Yeah, so the play is actually about, or based on my uncle who passed away when I was really small, Douglas Paul Maligro, whose stage name was Sean Duque, and he was a fellow artist and also an AIDS activist in the late 80s until he passed away. So I was just I was talking to my Nana one day about family history, and then I didn't realize they were very close, the two of them. So I was just thinking about, I think there was a New York Times article or some major publication that compared the AIDS crisis to this past year. So that kind of was the genesis of my play, and thinking about refuge and connections with people that we care about.
Okay, great.
I was just, I think, thinking a lot about the pandemic, and we knew that we were hoping to present these plays over Zoom, so that had the form ended up dictating the content to some extent for me. And I think just at this point, what is intimacy? What is closeness? Like, these questions are ones that we have to face in unexpected ways, I think, this past year. So that was my big influence.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go. So I was actually on Hawaii Island kind of around the time where, right before we had come up with the theme, and our friends brought us to uhonua right out of Kona. And I just remember being there, and it was just kind of a coincidence that we chose this theme after having been at one of our sanctuaries. And I just remember it felt very peaceful there, and very like serene and safe. And then when I sat down to write this play, I kind of paralleled that with the state of the world and how crazy stuff was going on, and we were coming off of this pandemic, and then we have all of this like social injustice happening in the world. And I wanted to comment upon the idea that laws that were put into place may not be in the best interest of the people, like 200 years down the line. So, and then I came up with the idea. I remember asking the other playwrights, like, is it okay for the protagonists to not be good people? And it all just kind of came from that. So I just made my main characters not good people, and put them on a journey toward this sanctuary. Yeah.
Can I just say I love hearing all of this, because we actually never really had like a formal conversation about like how our plays were inspired or how we got started on them. So I'm learning a lot right now. I think for me, I like I wrote in my little bio thing, I really like to write about queer belonging, and I try to incorporate that in my plays. And I think I was thinking about both like sanctuary in the sense of like being queer here, like specifically on the islands, and also within the context of the pandemic. And it was a fun way to like use Zoom and explore like that as a character. But I think my thought process was, there's nowhere right now. There's like no sanctuary right now. The whole world's fucked up. So space is the only option. So that's how I got to mine.
I'll go. And I'll try not to make this too convoluted, but I know I feel like during this time, we were stuck so often just with ourselves through all of this. And I found that, you kind of you wanted to take refuge and take sanctuary from everything that was going on, but you had to find it to some degree. There was like there was this truly facing that you had to find it within yourself. There's no escaping yourself. And that at least a lot on my own self-examination, that both through self-examination and through some conversations that I had that were kind of similar to what takes place in my play. What I found is that we tend to, as people, get to this, we tend to like try and cling to things and love labels and categories and putting things because it feels more convenient and it feels more organized or something. But the weirdest thing is that it actually has completely the opposite effect. It actually traps you and holds you down and makes you feel like crap. And when you let go of that stuff and you try to open up and lean into kindness and all of that's honestly the best way you can find refuge. And the Mel character is pretty similar to myself. So that was a lot of that for me. So.
Okay.
Hi, my neighbors are doing their Saturday afternoon lawn thing, so I'm going to talk fast. Otherwise, you have to listen to all that racket. I wrote Super Spreader, and I kind of felt like I just need to write my little pandemic 10-minute play and check that off the list. And I wanted it to be funny. So that's it.
Okay. Can you guys talk a little bit about the process that you went through? You sort of worked together to develop these plays. Can you talk about that?
Yes. So we originally were basically workshopping our full-length plays with each other for like a span of like, I think we started in October was our first meeting. And that was basically from October to January. We were workshopping like each other's full-length plays. And then we knew we wanted to like celebrate, to do something. And originally we were talking about doing those, like all like 1 or 2 act plays. But then I think it was Lee suggested 10-minute plays. Not to say all of them were 10-minute plays. Okay. But that is to say, our process was we wrote them in a certain frame of time, and then we all provided feedback for each other, except for me, because I wrote a play and then I made everyone read it, and then wrote a completely different play right before this process started. And I think I just feel very like, I hate saying this. I feel very blessed to be with this group because everyone is very insightful and smart and provides really wonderful feedback and is just like super supportive of the process. And we're like not hard on each other. We're not strict with each other. And, you know, we all just want to write. Like whenever we meet, it's always like, okay, well, who's gonna start this? Who's gonna do the thing? Because we all just want to write. And that's like really why we're here. And so I think we're all on the same page about a lot of things and we all have something to offer, and I've learned a lot. So that's how this process has been going. It was very quick. It was very quick, especially from when we met with directors and got actors to now, which was like a week.
Yeah. Sean,
yeah, I think, oh, sorry. I think we all set off on this journey back in October, not 100% sure of like what was in store for us. But I think the biggest thing that we got out of it was that, you know, we really trying to push ourselves to be contributors into this industry, more proactive contributors into this industry, you know. And I think this has given us the opportunity to collaborate with writers from different islands and then hold each other accountable. You know, like there was a deadline, you know, we set a deadline. We had this festival date planned out, like from the moment we conceptualized this idea, this festival, we set the date for ourselves. So it's like, we were all like inching our way toward this day, knowing that it was going to happen. Right. So it's just like all of us cohesively were just like, well, shit, we better write these plays, you know, and like, it worked. We did it. So yeah, so it was great.
Yeah, I'm going to follow up on that and say, like, I feel so grateful for this group of people here because, for one thing, I mean, not to like pile on with the love fest, but it's just such an incredibly supportive, amazing group. And like, I left them hanging. I could not come up with anything for like 2 months. I was writing self-indulgent drivel that I refused to turn in. The deadlines kept passing and I kept going, no, y'all, I can't even put this in front of my therapist. It's that bad. Like, it's just, I can't. It's so bad. I'm like the opposite of Lee. Lee is like Alexander Hamilton. She is just like writing left and right. And it's incredible. It's coming out. And I am the opposite of that. You have to like drag it out of me. And finally, like, I was gonna give up, and then I got these beautiful supportive messages from everybody on our Facebook chat going, it's okay, Lin, you can still turn it in, we'll still read it before tomorrow's deadline, we promise, just get something in. And something about that, like, I sat down at the computer and it just out of me in like 20 minutes. It just came out like I was recording it. And it was because of the magnificent, wonderful support of these incredible people right here. So
how did you all come up with the theme of uhonua? Did one person suggest it, or you all just sort of collectively came to it?
We literally voted, didn't we?
We had a democratic process. Yeah, I think everyone was just brainstorming. It's kind of, everything was very organic, and we just kind of whittled it down based on the suggestions. And I wanted to add one more thing to the other question. The only thing, I have bad memory, so thank God for Sean Dunnington for remembering about our process. I barely remember last week. I don't remember October 2020. But, you know, part of the genesis of this whole thing was a conversation we had just talking about wanting to like engage and like tour to go to Pro Arts where Lin is and involve more of the state working together. So I'm really proud of everyone's work and giving, and it's really cool to be.
I do remember a discussion on social media a while back about kind of Oahu-centric performing arts acknowledgement. So I feel like this may have been an organic outgrowth from that. If it was, good kudos to you all for including the other islands.
Yeah, I really think for the exception of like maybe Molokai, I think we've got a representative from every island in this festival.
Do we have
So yeah.
Lanai?
Oh, okay, maybe not Lanai, but definitely, yeah. So just those two.
Maui County.
Maui County, yeah, we got Maui County.
Yeah, nice. Okay, what are the upsides and downsides of working on short 10-minute plays versus the full-length plays that you all started out with?
I will be brief because I am very, I have many opinions about this. I don't like 10-minute plays. I don't like writing them. I don't like listening to them. Regardless, this was a really great experience, and I think everyone wrote really incredible plays. The reason why I think that is because I already feel like as a playwright, plays have so much pressure, you know, like as someone who has like worked in like a new play development lab and like was like reading hundreds of plays and being like, what are we looking for? It was always like something that like changes your life. Like you get in the theater and you leave a different person. So I like always feel that pressure when like writing a play that I have to like do like something really huge. And what, not to say that's what I accomplished, but that's what I feel regardless. So then with a 10-minute play, I'm like, well, how do I do anything in 10 minutes? Not to say that it can't be done, and it is done, and I've seen it done 6 times tonight. But I think for me, I think I just give myself a tough time on like being able to, can someone help me? Does someone get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would frame that, Sean, as like the form is incredibly constricting. And I think then knowing that it's going to be performed on Zoom is like making it even more of a tiny box you have to fit your idea into. And, you know, sometimes like really unusual creative things can happen when you set firm limits around your creative product. And sometimes it's not successful and sometimes it is. And I think it regardless, it's interesting. It's interesting to have those limitations.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I agree with everyone. I'm just like, don't get like, just let me be an artist, you know? It's just like, let me create art my way. Like, why give us limitations? No, but I agree. You know, at the end of the day, we are writers in the industry, and the industry is going to require a certain set of limitations and guidelines for things to be marketable. And I think that was a great lesson for us to learn, is that sometimes you just have to give in to the man and set limitations for yourself to create things that fit certain guidelines and standards. I don't know what I'm saying. You know, I just want to be an artist, whatever.
Also, I really want to hear what Lee has to say about this, because technically it was Lee's idea for us to do 10-minute plays instead of full-length plays.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, the advantage is that all of us could have something read at the same time in 2 hours on a Saturday. So the advantage was practicality or efficiency. And that's about it. I do think it's useful to have a 10-minute play sort of, you know, on your desktop. in case an opportunity comes around that says, hey, we're looking for a 10-minute play. And you're like, hey, I got one. And you can just send it off. As an art form, I don't know. I mean, it has its limitations, but that's what we do as artists, right? We work within the limitations. I think it's like writing a pop song a little bit rather than like having the big concept album of a full-length play. So that's what I was thinking when I just made the suggestion. Just, yeah, efficiency, practicality. The alternative was all of us with 2-hour plays, like one a night for a week. And I thought, that's a lot. That's a lot. So I thought this was fun.
You all
and I've done stuff like this. I've done 10-minute play with festivals with like native voices at the Autry, and that was really fun. So kind of I was stealing their idea pretty much.
I feel like, I don't know if this is true for everyone else, but I feel like with everything being online, we've kind of shrunk our formats anyway, because it's hard for people to sit in front of a computer screen for hours at a time, right? But 10 minutes, you can do a chunk of 10 minutes here and there, or a festival of a few 10 minutes. But that shorter attention span actually kind of works for the world that we're in right now.
Well, and as so many of the plays kind of highlighted too, I think we're all on our screens so much and we're all on Zoom so much and stuff. So this was like, it was like nice little nuggets of theater, like nice little nuggets.
Yeah. What was your favorite part of this process?
I'll go. Like, I mean, I guess I have two. The first one was when we all read the plays on Sunday. We the playwrights that we've all been working together since October, but not once did we ever take a moment to bring actors together and read our work. It was just basically like I was reading all of their work and like trying to translate it in my head. But plays are meant to be spoken out loud through the voices of many different people, not just like yourself, So that was kind of a nice moment, was just to have just to be able to hear all of our plays being read the way they should be read. And then I mean that same moment when we brought in the actors and the directors to see my play transform the way that it did was really exciting and magical. Like we literally on Monday after Sunday, I sat down on Monday and I completely rewrote the entire play to incorporate this whole storyteller element, and that would never have happened had you not came into the fold, Christina. So thank you so much. So yeah.
Is it possible for the directors to pop on the screen as well? Directors, would you turn your cameras on and join us?
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
So my next question is for the directors. This was a really fast process. You basically we had one big rehearsal with everyone, and then 2 rehearsals individually, and then yesterday just incorporating the tech, and then the festival today. So that's a quick turnaround. How was that for the directors? What was that process like for you?
I'll start. It was really enjoyable. For us, we did about 6 hours of rehearsal, and we really dove into Lin's language. I think Becca, who played Mel, and Lin just said this was her, this was Lin. The language came really easily to her. So it was just getting those rhythms. And then we went to Lin for some, and also with Melinda, but Becca was Lin. We had some feedback from Lin. We spoke family, and I really liked it. I liked the pressure of working that fast. I like that you guys gave us, we had these 3 days, we can do a half-an-hour rehearsal, or we can do 6 hours of rehearsal. We did a lot of character analysis. We gave backstories. We did a method acting score. Everybody had actions and objectives and obstacles. We really played with it. We treated it like a full-length play, and we wanted to honor it that way. And then I spoke to Lin last night and said, do you have any notes for me? And she did. She has some little notes. And so we incorporated that. And it was great. I was really glad that my son, Sean, asked me to do this, because I really enjoyed it. And I want to thank Lin for giving me such a great trusting me with this play. I was honored. And Becca and Melinda were a pleasure. So yeah, thank you.
Okay. Other directors?
I was so glad to just have made friends with Sean Joseph and some familiar faces here, and to bridge Kauai to Oahu, right? Because we have that thing about being Oahu centric. There's a lot of great theater that happens on Kauai. So literally hopping out of Possack and Paul's edges, the cast and crew. I mean, I have my director, Chris Alderette, playing Zanny from that show. And we just jumped right out of that show, right into this. And the process was speedy, yes. We had to work around our schedules, but I think Sean Joseph he set a tone of ease, you know, a tone of ease, but also a tone of trust. There was a lot of trust that we can pull this off, especially that it's virtual. And we have very passionate people in theater here on Kauai. Like Chris is a seasoned actor and director, as well as Billy. Neil Yukimura is our first time actor this year, but he's also a musician. So the talents and just the way that Sean wrote the story is very meaningful to a lot of us. And the sense of place and knowing that our main character, Sean Duque, is an actual, you know, historical BIPOC, it's like, wow, cool. We got a bunch of background information from Sean Joe about his uncle. So we had that backstory in the 1970s, 1980s, the AIDS epidemic, and like the relationship between Hawaii and Japan. It's just such a rich story, and our actors belong in that history. Like we live and breathe this history. So it was easy. I saw the characters, our actors connect to the characters very well. We did not spend 6 hours on our rehearsal. Sorry. Yeah, but we did do 2 rehearsals, each an hour. And the frequency of reading it, you just seen it from going into the skeleton to a more, there's a lot more depth to the delivery, the way each character was played by our actors. And I think if we continue to develop this story, it's just going to be such a gem for the world to see and get to know that time in Hawaii's history.
Okay. Bree, do you want to talk about your process at all?
Sure. I mean, it was not very difficult. It's a brightly written little gem, you know, so I mostly knew that I had to cast it right. That was the big thing for me, cast the right 2 people that could pull it off. And I think I did that. And I think they did that. And yeah, we didn't have 6 hours of rehearsal either, but that's not to say we couldn't have used 6 hours of rehearsal. But anyway, I mean, I had a blast doing it, and I think they did too. It was really enjoyable. It's the first thing I've directed on Zoom. So it was interesting. I don't feel like I knew enough about Zoom. So if I were to do it again, I think I'd do a lot more research on that end. Working with the actors was the easy part.
Yeah, for sure. Are the actors also able to turn their cameras on? Join in the discussion?
They're coming.
Okay. I just think we need to give them a round of applause because actors live for applause. And they're hard to give it to them in the online world. So good job, you guys. So for the actors, can I have you wave your hand if you've never performed online before?
Yes.
Okay, a few. Yeah, a few. Some of you are pros at this already. That's great. Wave your hand if you've never performed on Zoom before. Yeah, okay, so Zoom's kind of a new thing for some of us. And wave your hand if you are not on Oahu. Yeah. So what does it mean for you as performers, whether you're on Oahu or another island, to be able to work in this online format and not be, we're no longer restricted by geography. That's one of the good things that has come out of this past year. What does that mean for you, actors? Yes, Lily. Lily, you're muted. Sorry, Lily's hand was up, but maybe, there you go. And then
there you go, I'm navigating. I think that this is history, yeah? We're rewriting history. So who rewrites history? Are the artists. It's nothing, like Beth called me, of course. It always happens in that cycle when Beth and I worked together on Big Island, yeah? Of course, that's how we met. We didn't meet on the mainland, you know, when we were getting our degrees and doing our careers there. We met after we had children and were invited to islands and were embraced by the islands, even though we didn't necessarily want to stay on the islands. Do you understand? So that's how so when she called me and said, okay, you know, here's an opportunity, I said, yes, you know, because it's rewriting history, we're creating it. And we have to keep creating it. That's what artists do when there's cataclysms. So we're in an unprecedented time. And so she was surprised, yeah, that I was on Maui. I had just, you know, had to drop Big Island, you know, and how it works with the islands, you know, it's all done there. And now Maui has embraced me, and she was surprised. But it doesn't matter, right? Still, there's no restriction. It wouldn't have mattered where I was. I could have been in Baltimore. But this is it was stressful, the Zoom part. Like Bree, you said, you know, next time I'll go, you know, I'm going to go after a couple days break, yeah, and go and just do a little study, little Zoom class. I mean, like all of us, we've been on Zoom calls, I've been on Zoom calls, you know, but more for, again, family or business or, you know, the business, yeah, keep the economy going. But how do we keep art going? And that's what I got. So it's been an absolute beautiful gift.
Great. Desmond, how about you?
I think this has been a great experience, just more exercise that I've been getting. I'm not going to put a shirt on, Jose. It's too hot. He's texting me. No, it's been great to be able to collaborate with people again. I do miss, you know, of course, personal. I shied away from doing Zoom theater for a long time just because it breaks my heart. You know, it's something that should be live with people and audience. I need to pound on the same door that Makile is on. But I appreciate having the opportunity to exercise my acting muscle. And aside from that, I think it's great. It's a great opportunity for all actors because now we can self-tape and submit self-tapes to jobs around the globe. And another good thing about our benefit, I guess you can say, with this whole pandemic thing is that the local shows that are filming here are starting to look more towards local talent to fill bigger roles. So I'm thrilled to see all the familiar faces and friends that are getting great opportunities, and I applaud them. And thank you for showing that we can kick ass too.
Yes. Any other actors have anything they want to share? Maria?
Hello, thank you. I'm very, very touched. I got to be a part of this because it was my very first Zoom performance, and kind of touching with what Desmond was saying, it was definitely a completely different vibe from performing in person and with people around you. But it's so cool that you can still, for example, be anywhere around the world as well and still perform in the same play with people also from everywhere. But it was kind of funny because I remember we would work on different little quirks about like where to look and stuff like that. Because in person, when you hear somebody coming, you're hearing it actually. But then on Zoom, you're just like, where would they be coming and where are they on the screen? So it's a different experience, but I'm so blessed to have been a part of it because it was cool just seeing the movement and seeing how things are changing in this world today. And like, who knows, like if everything's going to be virtual and we're going to all be like 3D popping out of the screen, and that's going to be how performing and filming is for us. And yeah, thank you all so much. This has been an awesome experience.
Maki'ile.
I just want to second what you said, Yastena, about giving us the opportunity to work with so many different people from across the islands. Although we didn't have every island represented, that would be amazing. It really reminds me of a time where we had this 1-minute play festival on Oahu, and it brought together all kinds of people. And I met actually a bunch of people in here from that experience, but just being together in a room doing theater, and Zoom is allowing us that. And I agree with Desmond, like, oh, there's a part of me that I wish I could see you all in person, and that would be the dream, right? To get us all together. But when we go and it's safe and all of that, and we can travel, which is happening sooner than anything, getting to see each other in the work and getting to familiarize ourselves with each other and our work. And I'm so excited for just the connections from this project, and I look forward to many more projects in the future. So thank you so much for having this.
Yes. Anyone else want to chime in on what the inter-island theater experience means for us all?
Well, here from Kauai, we've got these are newbie actor and our seasoned actor, and they'd like to say a little bit of something coming from Kauai.
I want to thank you all so much for making this happen, because I'm brand new, as Juno just said. The only play I ever did was Edges with Chris Alderette, Billy Quibito, Juno, and myself. And this is brand new to me, and I'm so happy to be a part of it. Like, what's her name said, we're making history, and I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm tickled pink. And Billy wanted to tell you all how excited he was to be a part of it. My bashful counterpart.
Yeah, likewise, just piggybacking what everyone has said, this is a great medium to explore, and what we all collaboratively did today, and upon the other rehearsals and whatnot building up to today, you could really tell how passionate everyone is for the projects, and how it kind of grew and developed. I was watching everyone's show little short plays just kind of develop and grow even more from when we first started, and we only did 3 or 2 rehearsals. So that's very encouraging that we can still give each other that much needed energy that we all love when we are working together in person, that we can do it
Inter-island
as well.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. So thank you.
I see you, Maki'ile. Love you.
I really enjoyed seeing how some of these plays experimented with the form of Zoom, working on Zoom. And I wonder, do you folks think that Zoom plays will continue once the pandemic is over? I see some heads nodding, yes.
Sorry. Cut the lines, but I mean, I hope not, right? As an actor who loves theater the way that it is, because I'm a traditionalist, and I'm like, this is the theater, but whatever, But like, I think it is going to be very interesting to see what happens in the next 5 to 10 years. There were storytellers that date back to the origin of time or whatever, right? And then like when someone created the ability to make moving pictures, now they had a new form to tell stories, and look at it now, I think this is similar to that, it's just a new way to tell stories. So it's kind of foolish to think that it's not going to carry forth in some way or form moving on from this point. Saying that though, I do hope the theater that we all know and love, comes back full force, just like Hawaii tourism seems to be happening. But so yeah, that's my opinion.
Kahana, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on.
You're muted.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on what Oki had said. I had the opportunity to be in a production that was going to open the weekend that Hawaii shut down. We were doing tech, and we're told Monday night we had our rehearsal, and the director told us, well, that's it. It's off, and I don't know when it's going to be on again. There is talk about doing this virtually. Is anybody interested? Would you folks still be committed to doing it virtually? And that was a tough question for people. It was a really tough question, and I guess for me, it came down to the story that we were telling needed to be told. And it was one of the first shows that was put on Zoom, in Hawaii at least. I don't know what was going on anywhere else, but it was rough around the edges. It didn't have bells and whistles. It was given with much heart, much aloha. But over this year, I've been in a few productions, and every time the quality, the nuances, the kind of, I don't know, the things that people bring to it, the skills that people bring to it keep improving, keep growing. So I like to think, like Oki said, I think remote performance is a new genre that some people will embrace and some people don't. Some people refuse to do film acting, and some people, hey, film acting audition, I got my reels, and oh, by the way, I'll be over at Kumukahua, performing in this role, and some people refuse to do theater, and we all have tackled our choices of what kind of work we want to do based on our own values, and we have to respect that. If one of my fellow actors say, you know what, I hate Zoom. I'm never going to do a Zoom play, and if that means I have to wait until everything reopens and it's safe, then so be it. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to miss your acting, man. Really. And I do miss his acting, but it's another genre, and it needs to grow. It needs to improve. It needs new, I don't know, the technology and everything needs to improve, but it's a genre that needs to be developed.
If I can piggyback on what Kahana said, the Zoom theater afforded, like, those of us who are really busy with like full-time work or kids or anything, even those of us who are doing so many things, no matter what it is, being a student, having the time to be able to see other plays was really nice, because there would be so many times when pre-COVID, oh, I'm doing a show, I can't make it, I get off of work at this time, and I would just make it with the traffic. And the Zoom theater was beautiful because I could just be at home or wherever the heck I was and log on, and catch my friends doing what they do best. And so that was really nice to be able to kind of be present in that way. That was so different than before. I would have preferred to be in person, because heck yes, but that was always really nice to be like, oh my gosh, I can totally make this show now.
Yes.
Because of Zoom.
Hey, no need to put on makeup.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback on that. I'm gonna take my writer hat off and put on my executive director hat, and kind of say for a second, I don't know if Zoom theater itself will necessarily continue as much when the theaters open back up, but I do think that there will be more technical involvement, that there might be videos of shows and other things, because I think what we've really found in all this is that the big silver lining of all of this is the expanded access, that it allowed us to give people more access, either because of time constraints, financial constraints. There will still be members of our community who are unable to see shows because they are in a certain level of vulnerability. There will be people who have had to move off island for economic reasons. There are so many parts of this that there's people who I think have discovered theater through this because they'd always thought it was maybe too stuffy for them or whatever that looks like. I do think that there has been the silver lining of that this has really opened up and expanded access. And I think that that's something that we all have to be really creative moving forward of how to take what we've learned from that and incorporate it into how we move forward, even if it's not exactly Zoom theater, if it's filming what we do, if it's making those recordings available at different times and all of that, that there's a lot of opportunity to involve a broader swathe of the community and make the arts in general more accessible. And honestly, I mean, what could be better than that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, I think it's time for us to start to wrap up. Is there any last thing that anybody is dying to say?
I'm dying to say that it is really my dream that when Zoom theater is over, if that day comes, that we all still stay connected and we have this trans-island network. I feel I've made so many friends across the islands that I never would have made if not for the pandemic. And that is that's really the only silver lining for me, is I was able to experience the amazing artistic value of all of you and what you have to offer. And I can't believe I didn't even know about it before. It blows my mind. So I hope once this is over, we can all still somehow do theater together. Maybe I'm so grateful for Creative Labs and that the government is putting in focus into our creative industry. And I really hope that, my ultimate dream is one day we can match as in be equal to tourism in Hawaii, because then we'll be a super robust well-funded network, and this can be our full-time career and we don't all have to have 7 part-time jobs like I do. So that's my hope.
We want to say yes and ditto because although we are separated by oceans, although we are separated by ocean, we feel so connected to the theater, the theater folks in the other islands. We all kind of know the importance of catharsis and what intrinsically it gives to our community. And we have something to say. Our last words are 1, 2, 3. Mahalo nui loa from Kauai.
Mahalo e mano kalani po.
Hey.
Okay, Sean Joseph, were you the one that was going to talk about what's coming up next?
I am. I have the honor to end this thing. And yeah, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for discussing and spending time with us. The next thing that's coming up for Creative Lab, Wednesday, April 28th at 1 p.m., there's going to be a webinar titled Playwrights on Playwriting with Loitza, Kityan, and Choo, one of my favorite playwrights. It's going to be moderated by Donna Blanchard, president of the Hawaii State Theater Council. Please visit creativelab.hawaii.gov for registration information. And on behalf of the State of Hawaii Creative Industries Division, have a great day. Bye-bye.